You hear me? Yeah. Okay. Would everyone please rise and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please call the roll.
Councilwoman Nicholson.
Here.
Councilwoman Marcotte.
Here.
Councilman Dooley.
Here.
Councilman Marcoscia.
Here.
Supervisor Calavita.
Here. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Make sure everybody's got their lottery tickets ready to go. I understand the town hall will be a ghost town if we win. Some place is going to be a ghost town. But anyway, thank you all for coming this evening. We have some public hearings to just get through, and then we'll move over to our regular agenda. And I know some people are here to say a few things, so I want to just move it along. But the first thing we have is a public hearing to consider the adoption of a local law 2 of 2023 to amend local law 7 of 2002 and local law 5 of 2009, the town of Eastchester sign law within the town of Eastchester. And before we get to the actual hearing itself, I want to just ask the town attorney to move into the secret process. And Mr. Ray, did you have a resolution prepared with regard to lead agency, et cetera?
Yes, I do.
Let's go there.
I have a resolution of the town board of the town of Eastchester declaring lead agency status and issuing a negative declaration with respect to the adoption of local law number 2 of 2023, repealing and replacing the sign law of the town of Eastchester. And it is as follows. Whereas the town board of the town of Eastchester is duly elected legislative body of the town of Eastchester and is authorized to adopt local laws, and whereas at the town board meeting on June 20th, 2023, the board introduced local law number 2 of 2023 to repeal the existing sign law of the town of Eastchester and replace it with the new sign law. And whereas the review and the adoption of the local law is an unlisted action under the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act, known as SECRA, and the town board is the only involved agency in the SECRA review of this local law, and whereas the town board has received, and you all have copies, and received and reviewed the short environmental assessment form, parts 1, 2, and 3, which were related to this local law. Now therefore it be resolved that the town board, as the only agency involved in the SECRA review of the local law, hereby declares itself as the lead agency for the review of this action under SECRA, and be it further resolved that the town board hereby adopts a negative declaration of environmental significance for the adoption of local law pursuant to the SECRA based on the information and the reasons stated in the EAF parts 1, 2, and 3, which have been received and reviewed by this town board and are incorporated herein, and authorizes this town supervisor or his designated agent to execute EAF Part 3 and to file this negative declaration in accordance with the applicable provisions of the law. And further, be it resolved that the town board authorizes the supervisor or his designated agent to take further steps as may be necessary to discharge the town board's responsibility as the lead agent.
All right. Someone care to make a motion on that, or omnibus motion on all of that?
So moved.
Second.
All right. Can you please call the roll?
Councilwoman Nicholson.
Aye.
Councilwoman Marcotte.
Aye.
Councilman Dooley.
Aye.
Councilman Marcoscia.
Aye.
Supervisor Calavita.
Aye. Okay, I'll make a motion to open the public hearing on the sign law. Someone care to second same?
Second.
Okay, please call the roll on opening public hearing.
Councilman Nicholson.
Aye.
Councilwoman Marcotte. Councilman Dooley.
Aye.
Councilman Marcoscia.
Aye.
Supervisor Calavita.
Aye. Okay, what we'll do, if we could, if the board would permit, I'd like to recognize Noel Wolfson, who is here, who is special counsel to the town regarding this very tricky subject matter. Lucas is also here from our building department. Thank you for joining us. But Noel, would you like to address the public with regard to this law before we actually hear comments?
Sure. Okay. So good evening again, Noelle Wolfson of the law firm Hockerman, Tortorella, and Weckstein. We're zoning and land use counsel for the town. And as it's mentioned, tonight the town board is considering the adoption of a local law to repeal the existing sign law and replace it with a new one. This law has been drafted in response to several recent cases from the United States Supreme Court, and it is intended to address the standards in those cases. We've been working on this law for quite a long time, first with Building and Planning Director Margaret Yulee, and more recently with Lucas. It's been in the works for over 2 years. In November, we had a public work session to consider the law, and it is posted on the town's website for anybody who would like to review it. I just want to give a very brief overview of the relevant portions of the law and then turn it back over to the board and public comment. So the law creates a new board of the town, this sign review board, which would have the authority to review sign permit applications, interpret this law, and grant variances from the law. It will be this board and the town's building inspector who will be authorized to administer and enforce the law. The law basically assigns 4 categories of signs. Signs that can be erected without a permit, signs that need a permit from the building inspector, those that need approval of the newly created sign review board, and signs that are prohibited. So the first type, signs permitted with no permit, signs that can be put up with no administrative review. A variety of signs are under this category, including most residential signs. These are signs like portable signs, window signs, flags, and other similar signs. This is the biggest change from the existing sign law. In the existing sign law, these signs are regulated based on kind of their function, political signs, real estate signs, holiday signs. In the proposed law, we move away from that and focus more on the physical characteristics and placement of the signs on the lot. The next classification of signs are signs permitted with a permit from the building inspector. These are a small class of establishment business signs, temporary wall signs for businesses, and sandwich board signs. The next category are permitted signs with review and approval by the newly created sign review board. These are more permanent establishment signs like wall signs, monument signs, and other similar permanent business signage. These regulations are consistent with and substantially similar to the existing regulations, which have been very effective throughout the town. And the last classification are the prohibited signs, and like the permitted without a permit signs, these are described by their physical characteristics rather than their function. The sign law, like the current sign law, also regulates the placement of awnings on structures other than 1- and 2-family residences, which will be reviewed by the sign review board. And because this law is a change from the existing law, and it will take effect 6 months from the date that it's adopted to give people a chance to read it and understand it and understand its terms. So with that very brief overview, I'll turn it back to you and members of the public.
Sure. Well, just for my own comments, just people should recognize that there were 3 paths we could take here. We could either have a law that says there shall be no signs in the town at all, and some places actually do that, but that's a little bit prohibitive and restrictive. The second path to take was no restrictions at all, which would mean that you can pretty much put up a billboard on your front lawn, or if you're a store, you could do whatever you want with regard to illumination or signage or colors, whatever the case might be. Or what we chose to do was do something in the middle, where we would obviously encourage signs, but we would limit them in size and in number with regard to, like, say, residential properties. Also, as Noel mentioned, everything is got to be content neutral. We cannot have any restrictions on the content of a sign. So, we used to have restrictions that would say, okay, vote Calavita, right? But you can have a sign now that says Calavita's a bum, all right? It doesn't matter. You can't restrict the signs, the content of the sign on any level whatsoever. The other thing that I think is important to note is that you can get a variance if you feel you have special circumstances and that your sign, that what you'd like to install for special reasons needs a little bit of relief, you can do that too. The penalty provisions are also present, and it does include a small period of jail time if necessary. And that is something that is always in all of our misdemeanor laws, and that's replete throughout the entire state as well. It's basically a core of any penalty provision. Also, I'd like to mention, too, people say, well, what about property that the town owns, okay? And what we're going to do is develop our own property, our own policy with regard to town property. Like, for example, we all see the Hometown Hero banners that are out and about around the town. So we will address that, and we put up the American flags, the Irish flags, Italian flags, a couple nationalities. We'll start to focus on that. Also, the town, we have signs that are at the gateways of the town, on White Plains Road, California Road, Mill Road. So we're going to be replacing those signs. So we'll develop a policy on what we'll do with our signs, or people that want to put signs on our property. We'll do the same thing. So we're going to work on that as well, as including the fee schedule. We'll develop a fee schedule for signs and for applications and all as this advances. But with that being said, would anyone care to address the board with regard to the sign ordinance? Yes, sir. Mr. Sweeney.
Good evening, Frank Sweeney, 22 Lakeview Avenue. I'm really encouraged by the first step forward here tonight. As you're probably well aware, it's been 3 years since I asked the board to consider attempting to redo the welcoming signs to Eastchester. They've been in pretty rough shape, I think we can all agree. If this gives us the opportunity to get that done, I'm 100% in favor of moving ahead as quickly as we possibly can, as well as if you're going to do the signs, you might as well do the gardening in and around them, because what happens is over the years, it's really gotten out of hand. You can't see the signs, you can't see the home of the lower brave of the signs themselves. So if that's going to give us an opportunity to do the signs as well as do the refurbishing in and around the sign, I'm all for it and look forward to an earlier resolution in terms of getting it done as quickly as possible. Okay?
Thank you, Mr. Sweeney. Yes. Signs. It's only about the signs. Yeah. Signs. Only signs. All right, excuse me. John? Yeah, John. Come on. Yeah, this public comment now is just restricted to the sign ordinance. Thank you, John.
John Fix, 56 Orchard Street. It's more of a question, because I think this is a great idea to go over the, to update the sign ordinance, because I've dealt with it in the past when I used to own a hardware store and going through application process and awnings. About sandwich boards, there's a definition that says it has to be made of durable, weatherproof material. Plastic is not permitted. And I'm just wondering how plastic's defined, because I know at Cornell's and anywhere I've been around, the signboards are all A-frame kind of plastic or poly material. I don't usually see, we used to have some wood signs that were really heavy, and so it specifically prohibits those, and actually those are the ones that I've kind of seen in common use.
Well, I think the logic on that was that they wouldn't float away or blow away. We wanted to have something substantive. I think the code also provides that they have to be secured. So maybe, I don't know, we could probably consider changing that, provided it's secured. That's the whole point. We don't want to have someone fall into it, fall over it, or get knocked down or pushed into somebody or knocked into the roadway and cause an accident. It's got to be, it doesn't have to be permanently affixed, but it's got to be sandbagged or of some substance, some substantive weight, so it doesn't become a hazard. That was the logic, I think, about the plastic. But you're right, though. Everything pretty much is plastic these days.
I'm just not sure, and I'd have to look back, because I don't think there's a lot available to merchants and that aren't going to be that kind of A-frame plastic, because if they're bringing it in and out every night, an employee has to pick it up, carry it maybe across the parking lot or in somewhere. There's already restriction about putting it outside if it's windy or if there's a weather issue. So it really feels like you've got to find that balance. A metal one, if a car, or somebody goes into it, they might hurt themselves more versus a lightweight plastic one. So it feels like that definition of specifying plastic prohibited.
Or
means,
excluding plastic.
Yeah, you're excluding plastic only. I think there's other materials you'd be more worried about, or definition. But anyway,
Glass or whatever, yeah.
Anyway,
well, it's got to be safe
look around
either
even
way.
across. I think even like the bakery across from Town Hall, he's got a sandwich board. I know the town's been good about letting people put sandwich boards out, because it's been tough for the businesses. But I think most of them, if you walk around in town, are going to be plastic, and so you're going to have a lot of businesses that are going to feel like they have to now they're okay, but they're going to have to replace their signs.
Well, I guess we could leave it to the discretion of the building inspector or the code enforcement officer. I know like Mona Lisa, they have a metal sign. Hutchinson Farms Fruits, they have a metal sign. It's got a little chain, and it's pretty sturdy, pretty durable. It's always out by the street. It's got to get brought in, of course. But that's a good point, and we will take that under advisement.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, John. Thank you very much. Yes, sir. If, yeah. Signs.
Peace sign.
Good evening, David Levy, 220 Hillside Place, Upper Tuckahoe. Any sign, the problem with a plastic sign is it's very light, and the wind takes it and blows it down the road. Maybe you need to put tent pegs and chain it to the tent peg. Maybe you need to put little wind flaps in it so it doesn't get taken off. But I'd rather get hit by a plastic sign that got picked up by the wind than a wooden sign or a metal sign. All right, so, when this last sign law of 2002 came in, you had to get your signs from Sans Signs. They were the only people making the signs that fit the requirement. So my problem is, this is America. You own a business in this town, you pay sales tax, business tax, property tax. You're paying. You got to pay sign tax. You should be able, because you have a distinct business that's yours, a one-of business. You should be able to have a one-of sign. The colors, color of the light behind it, the color of the plastic, the color of the frame. That should be able to be your sign because it's your business and you want people to be identified. Yes, I can see requiring certain heights. If you got a 10-foot sign, the letters can only be 10 inches or 12 inches tall. I think the law in the town now is 14 inches, all right? But you should be able, you're paying tax. You're supposed to have something that catches somebody's eyes. For a while there, a small business in this town could not have a backlit sign or a front-lit sign as of the law of 2002. But if you were a big company like Stop and Shop, Walgreens, CVS, they could afford the lawyers to fight the town. So they were allowed to continue to have backlit signs. But the small businesses in town, which to me is the blood and sweat of a community, had to get these plastic letters that all were the same color. If it was a strip of stores on one building, they all had the same color awning, all had the same colored letters. That takes away from individuality. And you want to have something that makes your business an individual business. It's my feeling, but I'm not a business owner. All right. The young lady got up and gave a very good spiel. Again, too many rules. This is the problem. That's what made Trump one of the better presidents we had, because he said for every new rule we put in to the law, we have to take 2 out. This gets to be too much gibberish that only lawyers can understand. And there's too many damn lawyers in this world now. It's too easy to get a law license. All right? This seeker. What? Environmental, we have to have environmental clearance for a sign that's on a building? What did they think that somebody's going to put a radioactive sign on their building or a coal-burning sign on their building? Why do we need environmental okay and to put a sign on your building? It just puts too many layers upon layers that doesn't give the individual the right to decide what's better for his business or better for his community. This is, again, I want to just keep this to signs, but it's getting, this country is getting out of control, and it's getting worse and worse. You put too much emphasis on figuring out who's going to control this. As far as I'm concerned, you're my town board. Whether I voted for you or I didn't, which you all know I did, but It should be up to the man you choose to be the building inspector, the code inspector, to decide how to push or how to control what you guys agree on. We shouldn't have to have state people in here, federal, seeker, any of this, because this is our community. They don't come here and do anything for us. All they do is beat us down. And to me, this is just another way of beating down the small business owner. And I think that's it. Let me bring my glasses. Yeah, all I could see in this whole thing is we get rid of this 2002 and this 2009 sign law, and we go back to the way it was. You know, Duty did a good job, your father did a good job, Kavanaugh even did a good job in the beginning. But to start controlling everybody, you know, what are you going to tell people next time? That there's a certain way to put the roll of toilet paper on? You know, it's your house, you're paying for it. You should be able to do what you need within, you know, within a context. You know, like you say, you can't be through the world and just, you know, and, no, I don't know, and the political signs. There was a law in this town for a very long time, you could have one sign per candidate on your property unless you were on the corner, and then you could have two. But that went out the window.
Well, Dave, the issue here is this. I don't disagree with you on many points in that our sign ordinance before was very old. It was updated in part, but it was also very small, and that was okay. But what happened was, courts have ruled, the Supreme Court specifically has ruled, and we have to now make a new law that jives with what the Supreme Court has said your law has to say. And though it has to be longer, we got to be specific about things. And we can't be content specific. You can't say a political sign anymore. You can only say a sign. And with regard to the box signs, I think everybody agreed they were cheap looking and started fires, you know, a la Ace Nails, which I know you were at. But, you know, CVS and the like, they succumbed to the town. You know, I remember they said their corporate policy wasn't to put up anything but a box sign. And then we took pictures somewhere in the Hamptons or Cape Cod of the wood-carved signs, and all of a sudden they got religion and the wood-carved signs were all over town. So, you know, you got to push people a little bit to do something nice. But I do agree with you, like the secret process, it does seem a little ridiculous for, you know, the impact of, the visual impact or the quality of life or the aesthetic of signs. But unfortunately, that's what the law says we have to do. We have no choice in the matter, because if someone comes in and challenges the law and said, did you go through the secret process, and we didn't, then the law we did is tossed. And some, you know, piece of garbage sign's going to end up prevailing.
Well, what about the racist signs that are all over this town that nobody says anything about? This house is against hate. It's a blue sign, but those are the most racist people I ever saw, because if you don't agree with them, they hate you. They don't like you. You can't disagree. Me, I don't care what you say, whether I agree with you or not. I'll protect your right to say whatever you want, because that's what the Constitution gives you, the right to speech, freedom of speech. I might not agree with you, but I will not let anybody stop you from speaking.
Well, that's what this does. That's the point here. And also, just so we're clear, so people know at home, you know, what we're doing here, we're restricting like I'm talking about a single and 1 and 2 family homes, just for the example. We're restricting the overall aggregate of signage you can put up to 12 feet. And you can put up to 3, what I'm going to call political sized signs, okay? You know, they're like 2 feet by 18 inches or something.
I know.
So you can put up
campaign signs.
3 of those, right? And you can put up 2 flags, you know, 3 by 5 flags, stuff like that you can do.
Political flags or American flags?
Any flag, doesn't matter. So it could be Easter flag, it could be
Oh, yeah.
Christmas flag, you know.
I don't think there should be any limit on the American flags you put up on your house. Just like, you know, we have it, you guys put an ordinance in this town, a flag ordinance.
Correct.
But nobody enforces it. I go by the library until recently, I haven't looked lately, but the flag at the library was ripped to shreds, and nobody fixed it, nobody changed it. But I hadn't been in town when there was a meeting to come and say anything. But what I'm saying is, these hateful signs, hate doesn't live here. Those are the most hateful people I ever saw.
I know, but Dave, but the point is, we cannot control the content.
I understand
On
that,
any,
but-
on any, anyone, they can put whatever they want on the sign.
Right, but with this, it seems to be with this seeker, I have to look and read this. I can't see that the Supreme Court is controlling the content of your sign on your property.
Yeah, there's a particular case that came out of Arizona.
All right.
And it's
Well,
particular.
we'll talk later. You give me the
All right,
case
but
and I'll
the
look
point
at
is
it.
just that we're not disagreeing with you that this is a lot of regulation, but unfortunately, in order to comply with the law, we've got to address all these issues. And we also, what we did too, we made sure we put in a provision for a variance. We made sure we put in provisions for, for amendments and things, so that life would be a little bit easier for people.
Well, can we add an amendment to this law that political signs, within a certain amount of days after the election, the person whose name is on the sign is responsible.
Taking it down.
See those signs are down, instead of they ended up in the street, ended up in the sewers. I mean, it's ridiculous. Who needs to know who's running for office 6 months after it was decided?
Yeah. Well, that's just the personal thing. It's the candidate's responsibility.
That's my
To
feeling.
take care of their signs. And
Well,
I go around with a
ask-
pickup truck, I pick everything up,
I know. Listen, when you ask me if you could put a sign on my property, or I ask Sheila if she want to put a sign on my property, when the election's over, I take the sign and I put it in my garage. So next time they run again, they don't have to spend the $12 for the sign on my property. All right? But to me, this whole seeker thing seems very totalitarianistic. It doesn't seem American. These lawyers decide what you can think and what you can do. And I think that that's wrong. I guess that's it. I didn't want to take up everybody too much.
Thank you. Anyone else on the sign ordinance? Well, you spoke once already, Mr. Sweeney. Just speak for 1 minute, please. Thank you.
You're going to redo the welcoming signs to the town. If we can think about doing some solar lighting rather than just the signs themselves,
Sure, it's a nice
it would
idea.
really spiff up the idea of making Eastchester what it's supposed to be.
Good idea. Very good thinking. Now, I would like to also comment, one other thing, from the feedback that I got from people that approached me, the only section I think we just got to look at is, in Article 5, it makes references to a sign should not be greater than 3 feet off finished grade, okay? So, for example, let's say you have a political sign. It's about probably 1.5 feet or so before you get to the sign. Then it's normally 18 inches by 2 feet. So you're right at that 36-inch mark. So maybe we should just change that to 4 feet, just so that if a person's on a hill or a downhill or an incline or whatever the case might be, there's no issue regarding, the 36 inches. And also, no one's going to be there with a tape measure, but if people make a complaint, I think we should have a little bit of a cushion built in there on that. So that was my only suggestion with regard to Article 5. It appears a couple times in 5. But just so people...
I'll make note of that to have it in the final draft.
Thank you.
I believe it's Section 5, 510-4, and 511-3.
511.3, yeah. The other thing I hope people recognize at home is that, congratulations to Tony for graduating preschool, individual letters and bunny rabbits and all of that. Okay, that's too much signage. That's not compliant. 12 feet of sign is plenty of sign. Like my kid graduated from Waverly or whatever, those are all compliant, and you can put up to 3 of them if you like, but just, these ginormous signs that people put out for, months are not compliant. So anyway, any other comments from the public? Yes.
On a 3-foot sign,
I don't know what you're saying.
maybe that you're just conforming them, just a standard sign. Just like you say, some people aren't strong enough, got too many rocks in their grass, they can't push that wire frame down.
Well, that's what I'm getting at. The comment, which you didn't hear because he's not at the mic, is if if you can't put the sign in the ground because of rocks, cement, whatever, that's where the 4 foot comes in. So you have a little bit of play there. Put a sandbag and put the sign in it, whatever you want to do. But anyway, so there being no other comment from the public, would anyone care to make a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Please call the roll on closing the public hearing.
Councilwoman Nicholson.
Aye.
Yes. On the signs? No, only on signs. Just one sec. We'll get to the regular agenda in a minute with this whole process here. So you were speaking, I'm sorry, you were conducting the roll call on closing the public agenda.
Correct.
Aye.
Councilwoman Marcotte?
Aye.
Councilman Dooley?
Aye.
Councilman Markosha?
Aye.
Supervisor Calavita?
Aye. Okay, any comments from the board members regarding the sign ordinance?
I'd just like to thank Noelle for all the work she did, I think one of the objectives was to make sure that our law is, a best in class, comply with all, laws so that, the chance of a lawsuit down the road is, minimal or it doesn't exist. So, in the building department, the work that went into this was just tremendous. So thank you for all your work there, and everybody in the building department as well.
I would echo that sentiment, of course, and well done, very well done. I would just ask of the clerk if you had received any either verbal, written, or electronic correspondence with regard to comments on making a record. Thank you.
All right. Also, I want to thank Noelle as well, and Margaret Yulee, who is now retired from Eastchester. Lucas did a lot of work as well. But it was not easy. This took a long time because the law is constantly evolving. And, we have the political season will be upon us in, a couple of months. Locally, it's not a big deal, but next year, when the national election is going on, it's going to be sign chaos, I'm sure. That's why we have, we're doing this now so that people understand what we expect, what the law is, and hopefully they'll be complying at that time. Anyway, with that being said, there being no further comment, would someone care to make a motion to approve this local law as we've discussed and as was amended in a minor manner?
So moved?
Second.
Second. All right, please call the roll.
Councilwoman Nicholson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Marcotte?
Aye.
Councilman Dooley? Councilman Markosha?
Aye.
Supervisor Calavita?
Aye. Okay, we're going to move on to the second public hearing. These will be a lot more brief. This is a public hearing to consider the adoption of a local law 2023 to amend local law 3 of 2000, section 2-2 regarding the setting of speed limits on the town of Eastchester public roadways within the town of Eastchester. And we introduced a law last time to universally change the speed limit in the town of Eastchester on town of Eastchester roads, which means that does not include White Plains Road, which is a state-owned road, and Harney and Brook, Wilmot Road, Main Street. These are the roads owned by the county of Westchester, Mill Road, but everything else we own. And we'll be reducing, the goal is to reduce the speed limit to 25 miles per hour uniformly. So with that being said, would someone care to make a motion, open a public hearing?
So moved?
Second?
Please call the roll.
Councilwoman Nicholson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Marcotte?
Aye.
Councilman Dooley?
Aye.
Councilman Markosha?
Aye.
Supervisor Calavita?
Aye, the public hearing is open. Anyone care to make a comment regarding changing the speed limit down to 25 miles an hour? There being no one, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing. Ask for a second, please.
Second?
Please call the roll.
Councilwoman Nicholson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Marcotte?
Aye.
Councilman Dooley?
Aye.
Councilman Markosha?
Aye.
Supervisor Calavita?
Aye. Okay, someone care to make a motion on the law, adopting the law?
So moved.
Second?
All right, please call the roll.
Councilwoman Nicholson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Marcotte?
Aye.
Councilman Dooley?
Aye.
Councilman Markosha?
Aye.
Supervisor Calavita?
Aye. It's good EPD is in the house. You guys, get the message now, 25 miles an hour. Okay, next we have a public hearing to consider the adoption of a local law 4/2023 to amend local law 3 of 2000, section 3-15 and section 824, schedule 14 regarding the existing prohibitions on overnight parking on all town roads and amending section 7-2 related to fines for violations for overnight parking within the town of Eastchester. And as everyone is aware, for decades and decades, the town has a law that says from December 1st to March 15th, you are not allowed to park your car from midnight, or is it 2 a.m. to 6 a.m., overnight parking. And that was because we wanted to be sure that if it snowed, that there was no cars on the road to do plowing with. So inasmuch as we have not had severe snowstorms recently, we had 2.3 inches last year. We had a little bit more than that the year before. And with the volume of people that complain about having to move their cars, when it's, snow season, particularly when kids come home from college for the vacations and all, and with regard to the fact that most everybody has driveways and are able to do this, do the parking in your home if it's a snowstorm. What we're going to experiment with is to suspend this prohibition on overnight parking during that time period. So basically what we're doing here is saying, okay, you can park your car now on the street in Eastchester 365 days a year unless there is a weather emergency. If there is a weather emergency, your car must go off the road for the period of the emergency, okay? You will get a notification from the town. If you see it snowing, you don't really need a notification from the town, to get your car off the street, all right? But we're going to do our rave. It's called Smart 911 Rave. I highly recommend everybody sign up for that. Okay? It's very, very simple to do. You go online. Yes, it's another username and a password, but it's easy. It takes 2 seconds, and you can decide what notifications you want to get from the town of Eastchester. It doesn't really have to be emergencies. It could also be recreation, senior services. It could be court stuff, police stuff, whatever it would be. You can also click whether you want to get a notification by landline phone call, by text message, by email, by voicemail. You can also nominate other people to get the same message. So, for example, if you're working in a city and camp has to close because a pipe broke at a school, grandma gets the same notification you get, so everyone knows what's going on. So all these things, it's very easy to do. You can set yourself up for notifications from the town. If you can't do it, you can't figure it out, call my office, 771-3302. Patty or Lisa or myself will sign you up. It's easy to do, okay? But with that being said, we will send a notification out that a snowstorm is coming. All cars have to be off the street for X number of hours. Maybe 12 hours, maybe 24 hours, no more than 72 hours, okay? And that's what we're going to try and do, so that people can leave their cars and don't have to, go crazy trying to find a place to park their car. Now, that also begs one other issue, and that's some people live on streets that are exempt from removing their cars, okay? California Road, for example, Manchester, parts of Glen Road, Oregon Ave, all throughout the town, there are little sections that are exempt because of steep slopes or no available parking or whatever the case might be. The police department is going to examine that list again. There are several locations that probably will come off that list. For example, somebody needed parking for a nurse. The person that the nurse was there for passed away. They don't need the parking anymore. Or for whatever reason, they don't have a driveway, but they have a relationship with a neighbor, they can park there. They don't need the exemption anymore. So they're going to kind of recycle the exemptions up. The full streets are not going to change. They'll be exempt also. But a letter will go out to everyone with an exemption to have them come in and show the reason for the exemption again. Okay? I think it's only reasonable to do that because, these lists have been around for decades, and the streets have changed, people have moved, houses have been knocked down, all kinds of things have changed. So we're going to go over that. Anyway, so with that being said, I'm sorry I blathered on there for a while there, but basically we're going to lose the parking overnight restriction. We're going to park all the time on the street unless there's an emergency, snow, hurricane, whatever the case might be. Then you need to get your car off the street. You'll be notified by us, but you also have to get it off. You can call us. You can find out what we're going to do. You can ask. You can get the notification, whatever the case might be, and that will be how we're going to handle it. So, do we have a motion to open a public hearing? I'm not sure if I did that yet.
No, not yet.
Okay, let's do a motion to open a public hearing.
So moved.
Excuse me.
Second.
Please call a roll and open the public hearing.
Councilman Nicholson.
Aye.
Councilwoman Marcotte.
Aye.
Councilman Dooley.
Aye.
Councilman Malkosha.
Aye.
Supervisor Calavita.
Aye. Anyone care to discuss this law, local law? Yes, ma'am. Just give us your name and address, please. Just give us your name and address.
Yeah. Anne Marie Kiernan Sweeney. I live on Central Drive in Chester Heights. I've lived there my whole life.
Great.
I really oppose this elimination of the overnight parking, and for several reasons. I don't think the town can really guarantee that everyone will move their car when there's an emergency. And then what's going to happen? The street can't get plowed, can't get cleaned. Even when the street sweeper comes by, the front of my house never gets cleaned because everybody's parked in front of my street, in front of my house. So I don't know how you're going to be able to enforce this law if there is a snow emergency.
The enforcement method would be a ticket, a $100 ticket, as the incentive to remove your car for future violations.
I mean, there's plenty of other traffic laws that are being violated in the town, and nothing's done. So I don't have much confidence that that's going to happen. I mean, you have cars parked right up to a stop sign, and it's very difficult to turn into Central Drive, and cars are parked up there. The state law is you have to park 30 feet
30
behind.
feet back, right, you're correct.
And I'm told that, well, the police won't do anything unless you call and complain. Well, that's not my job. There's commercial vehicles parked in driveways overnight. I'm assuming that's still a law in the town, that you cannot park commercial
That's correct.
vehicles. Well, commercial vehicles are parked in driveways within Chester Heights, and nothing is done. And I'm again told that, well, you have to call the police and let them know there's a commercial vehicle
Actually,
parked
the building
there.
department gets the call on that thing, yeah.
Well, you know, I
Or you
had
call
an
my
issue.
office.
I had an issue with the building department a couple of years ago. Someone was putting in a swimming pool, and I had to listen to a hydraulic drill from 8 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon because it was this huge boulder that they were trying to get rid of. And that lasted all summer long. And when I called the building department, they said to me, well, did you speak to your neighbor? How long is it going to take? I said, that's not my job. You're the building department. You should be checking this out. And they also told the neighbor that I was the one that complained, and that shouldn't be. If a citizen has a complaint, that should be confidential, in my opinion. I don't know how you think that should be handled.
Yeah, I think you're correct on that, yeah.
Yeah, but, and it's not. So then, you know, a citizen who has a legitimate complaint, you know, then you have a rivalry, you know, between your neighbors, and that doesn't foster a good, you know, a good relationship within the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I really don't think that this new overnight parking, there's also cars that park well over 72 hours, and nothing happens. Again, you have to call the police department and let them know that this car's been parked there for 3 days, 4 days, 3 weeks. I mean, I know they're busy, I know they have a lot of more important things to do, but this, to me, it addresses the quality of life within the neighborhood. And as I said before, the front of my house never gets cleaned unless the man across the street who has 5 cars hears a street sweeper and he scrambles out and he's kind enough to move his cars. But the street sweeper comes sometimes Thursday, comes sometimes Friday. Now I notice on Garth Road, there's a no parking sign on Mondays from 9 to 11 a.m. Is that so the street can be cleaned?
Correct.
So why can't we have that throughout all the other streets in town?
Well, you could do that. The only problem is sometimes the schedule of the highway department doesn't work out that way. But Garth Road is particular because it's such a long street and it needs constant cleaning because everybody, there's hundreds and hundreds of cars there.
Right.
But that's why Garth Road is a little bit of an exception.
Okay.
But certainly we could do that for Chester Heights. But I think the issues you're enunciating are police matters, and the police chief is here, and I see him making a note of what you're talking about. But with regard specifically to the, you know, the overnight parking, you make a good comment in that, you know, if someone doesn't move their car, there's going to be a big chunk of ice or snow in the middle of the street.
Right.
So, you know, what's going to end up happening, what we've talked about with the superintendent of highways is, you know, post-storm, there's going to be one truck that just travels around and knocks down all that stuff, you know, all the spots that weren't cleaned. I did receive an email from another person that voiced some other concerns in opposition to this. And for the record, you know, his comments were that, you know, the line of sight for the police officers to see what's going on at night will be impeded Otherwise, in the winter months, you can see if there's a car stuck or if there's a car that shouldn't be out, because everything else is clean. The issue he had was that, if the cars are not being removed and there's a snow buildup, that'll block water, that melting snow that might go down the driveway, and he made some other good
Right.
remarks,
Yeah.
and they were cogent and on point. The only issue we're trying to do is just balance all of that with this overwhelming sense that people want to give us a try. They want to see if it works. And we have made it very clear every time we discuss this, whether it be at a civic association meeting or town board meetings, that this is an experiment. This is going to be for a couple of years. We're not throwing away our signs that say no parking from December to March. We're holding on to them. If this doesn't work out, we're going to go back to it, because people have to respect what we're trying to do here. If they're not able to comply, right, aside from the fines and all, and there may be a reduction of fines and income in the court as well, because, people may, they'll
Yeah.
won't
I
comply.
will say, the town of Eastchester has impeccable services. Your garbage pickup, your recycling pickup, your greens pickup, and, well, the street cleaning from my neighbor across the street.
Yeah,
not
we
in
can work
front of
on
my
that.
house. But thank you.
All right, you're very welcome, Mrs. Sweeney, thank you. Anyone else on this law? The other Mr. Sweeney, yeah.
Frank Sweeney, 22 Lakeview Avenue. Concerning this new proposal, I've lived here for 50-some-odd years. Is it going to change the quality of life, particularly in the north end, where we have many, many streets, which I'm assuming they're not going to have overnight parking on because the streets are too steep to even have cars there. But I think the issue is, was there a survey created to understand why we need the overnight parking change?
Well, it was volume of people that have complained to the town board, why are we doing this? Also, in the past, officers in the police department that were in charge of, parking and traffic and all, have discussed that with the town board and said, listen, you got to give this a try, because this is archaic of, having this parking, no parking for just the 4 hours at night. So if it's snowing up to midnight, you can leave your car out there, but from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. you can't. So, it wasn't the, it's just a lot of people have said, why are we doing this? Most other places don't do this. They do the snow emergency thing. But again, we're trying it out. That's how we improve. If it doesn't work out, we're going back. And I'll be the first one to introduce it.
Have we chosen the streets in which we're going to try it on?
No, this is town-wide. We don't do this piecemeal. We have the list of the exempt streets that's town-wide, and it would be impossible to do this on a ad hoc basis or a neighborhood basis.
Well, how about the streets that are really not capable of handling it?
Well, for example, in Green Knolls,
Like Woodruff Avenue.
well, Green Knolls, for example, there are several people in Green Knolls on some of those streets that have exemptions and all. And with them being able to park their cars on the street at night, we haven't had any complaints or any problems with anybody up there. When we said you couldn't park your car up at night, on a street at night, people were going crazy. Where am I going to put my cars? I have no place to put my car, or my hill is too, on some streets, you go up a hill to get in one side and in a house, and on the other side of the street, you're going down the hill. It's impossible to get back up if it's snowing. So for a host of different reasons, it's worked out well when we started a little dose of this up there. And the thought is just, okay, let's try this town-wide. Let's just see what happens.
Well, I think there's certain streets, particularly in the north end, Brook Street, obviously,
Right,
Grand
Brook,
Boulevard 1.
There are several exemptions on Brook.
Okay. But the idea is Grand Boulevard, we share some of the responsibility of Scarsdale Avenue between Eastchester and Scarsdale. We share the responsibility on Potter Place between Eastchester and Scarsdale. And we want to come to a dead stop in those streets there where we can and cannot park. It could become a nightmare.
I don't know about
It's something that
Potter, but-
we need to give a little bit more thought. And the reason I'm here is that I'm asking you to give it some more time. don't vote on it tonight. Ease into it a little bit in terms of where we are. I think there's too many unknowns right now, particularly in the north end. The least that we have is how about the commercial properties? We are out of space in the north end. There's no surprise. There's no room left.
Well, any parking, whether it be commercial or, passenger, is subject to the same law.
Okay.
And, the problem with delaying things is, we've been talking about this for a long time. I've met with the police department, I've met with the highway department, met with parks and all. And in order to do this for the winter time, we've got to kind of do this now. The law has to get filed. We've got to change the signs, move everything down. We've got to have a big surge of people signing up for the, rave Smart 911. And it's going to take that amount of time because we may get snow in November. Maybe December more likely, but that only gives us a few months to get this organized. I mean, we could kick it off for a year, but, I think we're better off giving it a shot now. That's just my thoughts.
I'd leave you with one thought. I think it's going to change the quality of life, particularly in the north end. And I ask you to defer a decision tonight so we can take a little more time to understand the streets that are going to be affected, capability of DWP in terms of their abilities. We have a couple of streets where large plows can do most of it. But there's sections of them that are going to need a smaller plow.
Well, Frank, we did discuss this at the Eastchester meeting that we had months ago.
Yep.
And I specifically discussed this at length. And, other than one or two people, there really wasn't any objection to the issue. And I don't know, we could keep the meeting open. It's going to really cut the window down on all the work that we have to do. And I think if you have our word that this will be an experiment, that if this does not work out, if this is a fail, it's going to be reversed. And I think I speak for the board when I say that if it doesn't work out, it's going to get reversed. And, then we'll never have to hear about it again from the, hundreds of residents that want this to go, in the other direction.
We just understand that there's a special environment in the north end that basically, one street is Woodruff Avenue. It's now become a storage for people to park their cars. Not residents, but people from other areas to come and park their car overnight. Now, in order to call the police, you need the 72-hour window, and that gets to be a game.
Yeah, but that's not really
Yes,
related to snow.
I know. I had a family of 4 cars. I was fortunate enough that I could put them all in the driveway, okay? Mm-hmm. But the idea is that we have a lot of new people in town. Basically, maybe have 2, 3, 4, 5 cars. We can't stop them from having cars. But the idea is that it's a change in the quality of life in the north end, and even in Eastchester. It's a change. A lot of people don't want to accept it. We'll have to see. If you think it's going to work, I wish you all the best. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Anyone else? I'm sorry. You saying something or no? All right. John, you care to address the board on this issue?
John Fix, 56 Orchard Street. I was up in the air about the law. Some of the explanation you gave was very helpful in terms of the experiment, because I think we've kind of, the idea of a couple of years of no snow, we used to have that at the hardware store where we'd have a couple of years where we didn't sell a single snow thrower, and then you'd have a blizzard and everybody would, you couldn't get them. And then the next 2, for a few years, all of a sudden we had blizzards every year and lots of no school days. And I also get that for the police department, managing that whole overnight process is difficult. And when I've had family in to, where we needed to call and say, hi, I have a car staying overnight. So I think it's worth the try. My concern is that in addition to the snow challenge and managing that, is that the ban has kind of worked as a throttle to kind of keep cars in town from getting out of control. And we've got, in my neighborhood, there's several kind of pre-existing multifamily homes where people are renting places. The people they're renting, there's a couple there, each of them has a car. The owner's got the owner of a house has a daughter or something, they've got a car. So all of a sudden you've got homes with 5 or 6 vehicles on a narrow street. You add to that what you talked about as far as, she talked about the stop signs. I love the fact that Lorraine Drive and Lincoln now have some additional stop signs that have slowed that crazed traffic that used to cut through. But now it's made it difficult for people on that street to park because they're parking in front of the stop signs. And so then now when people are coming through to stop at the stop sign, you're basically in the other lane, and somebody's coming from the other direction. And so I think if cars start to explode after they realize I don't have to worry about parking all these cars in the driveway in the wintertime, I can buy that extra car. I can buy that Corvette and put a cover on it all winter and use that as my summer car. And so I'm a little worried that that might happen if we don't pair this new regulation or this change in the regulation with a little bit more enforcement
right.
of the existing. You know, even how close people park to the intersections. You know, at the top of, again, on my block, on Orchard and Lorraine, at the top there, the police at some point moved the no parking a little closer to allow people to have more spaces because there was driveway restrictions. I think some of that needs to be looked at again because it's very difficult for school buses, for vehicles to make a turn, especially some of these big SUVs and pickup trucks. So I can look out my window and there's always a little traffic jam at that corner, people trying to work that out. Related to that too, I will echo her concerns about the enforcement, about building department versus police department. You know, there used to be issues with people, you know, there was somebody in our area that used to be parking on their lawn all the time, but they would do it at night. So if you called the building department during the day, they'd say, well, I have to see it. So next time you see it, call the police, and then they can report it to me. You know, so there is kind of a back and forth that I think the initial call to one or the other should alert them. Like, so if the building department gets a call, they should then say to the police department, can you check this for me? And the same thing, if the police department gets a call, they can look at it and say, I will report it. You know, so this way that the residents that see this happening don't get the runaround. They shouldn't have to make multiple calls on something that...
Right, interdepartment communication.
Yeah.
For the most part, there is. Yeah, the other issue we always have is the building inspectors are generally not around on the weekends. They're home or they're doing whatever they're doing, and so that becomes a pickle, so we always have to work about that. But you know what has obviated a lot of that is the cell phone and the timestamp on a photograph. So if you take a photograph with a timestamp on it of a car on top of a lawn and you send it to the building department, it's tough to refute.
Right.
But I understand your comments. I get what you're saying. Certainly, you know, the proliferation of cars is not directly connected to the snow, but there is a proliferation of cars, no doubt about it. But when it snows, the cars have got to get off the road, period. And as Detective Barletta used to say, they all find some place to go. They all complain about it, but they all find a place to go.
Yeah, I don't know what happens to them. I mean,
I know. I don't know where they go.
Yeah.
But if not, they're going to get a hefty fine, and we're going to make an evaluation after this winter.
I hope it works out. Like I said, it's good to keep it in mind that, especially if it's a challenge, I'm sure you'll hear from the highway department if it is a challenge to clear the roads.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and so, but good luck with it. Hopefully it'll work out. Thanks.
Thank you very much. All right, last comment? Go ahead. Comment, yeah, Parker only.
David Levy, 220 Hillside Place, Upper Tuckahoe. I don't know if you're aware of what you're doing, Tony, to this world and this town by changing this ordinance. You're going to bring massive snowstorms upon us again and again from now on. This climate change stuff is not going to happen. You're going to let these people leave their cars, and it's going to snow, snow, snow. All right, so there's a couple of things.
You're talking to a supervisor that canceled Halloween once.
I know.
I had to sleep with one eye
That's
open
right.
because my kids were going to stab me in the middle of the night.
So, now listen, I understand the point. I happen to live on a block that's exempt, all right? It's a very narrow block. When they plow the street, they always plow the driveways we shoveled on the no parking side full again, and they freeze up, and you need a jackhammer to get them out. All right, there's a couple of things. One, listen, you live in this town, the taxes are through the roof. Yes, you've done an excellent job of maintaining the taxes in this town. I don't think of anybody I lived here since 1971. I don't think there's been another supervisor in this town who's done as much as you have to keep the tax rate from climbing so high. But when I bought my house in '96, it was $3,000 a year. It's $18,000 now. So if you're working and you have your own business, or you're working for a company and they give you a company truck, and you park it in your driveway with commercial plates, there should be nothing wrong with that. As long as it's parked far up the driveway and it's not on the street, I don't think there should be anything wrong with that, because you need to work to pay the taxes, all right? And to pay Joe Biden's gas prices, you need to go to work. That's just how it is. Then, the 72-hour parking. I parked on my street sometimes for months at a time, didn't move that car, because I walked down that hill and I got on that train. I went to work 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, 13 hours a day, and I came up that hill. I shouldn't have had to start my car and drive my car. People complained. I had to get a space in the municipal lot, Fisher Avenue. Then I had to listen to Kavanaugh say, you can't warehouse cars here. I'm not warehousing the cars. It's registered and insured. I'm working. What do you expect me to do? I go to work. I don't have enough time to sit and drive around. So those are two parking things that I think should be changed.
Snow.
We all know, I don't want to date you, Tony, or anybody else on the board, but we all know. The weathermen used to say, oh, there's a slight chance of a half-inch of snow tonight. And then we get 3 feet of snow. So now they go, oh, we have a chance of 1.5 feet of snow. And everybody gets worried. You start putting up all this stuff. Everybody's going to move their car, and we get a light dusting. There's got to be some better way of doing it than listening to these people who went to college for too long and waiting to get their college debt reduced, telling us what the weather's going to be.
Well, one year, Town Hall had just started the day, and there was a big threatened snow, right? So I said, let's keep everybody safe. So we canceled Town Hall, we closed Town Hall, sent everybody home. And I didn't even think it snowed.
Right, I know, I
And
remember.
the next time, it was supposed to be a storm. We said, screw that. Everyone's coming into work. That's it. And it snowed like 4 feet. And everybody was very
I
upset
understand.
because they all got stuck here. So, it all depends on the weather. We
Right.
do have a link with the County Emergency Operations Center. Their weather is good. The other night, we had a concert up at Lake Guile, the Tramps Like Us, right? So it was supposed to rain. It was this, it was that. It was crazy. 5 people all had 5 different apps on weather, and everyone said something different.
Right.
So he said, you know what? Let's just have the show, and it turned out to be a beautiful night. But the point is, you're right. You don't know, but when that time comes, we have to make a decision. The superintendent will advise me what he thinks we should do, and we send a notice out.
All right.
We'll give it a try. If it doesn't snow, it doesn't snow,
So now it says town-wide. Is it just the outside town you're doing this? or
Down
is it-
outside, yes.
All right, so, but I thought maybe it's Bronxville and Tuckahoe also.
No.
All right, so, understand, it used to be you went to work every day, didn't matter about the weather, you worked. You went to school, didn't matter, you were in school. That was the day. People didn't run around, the sky is full, and the sky is full. A pipe broke in the school, they go turn the water off. And the day was over, everybody got home, and this way the parents could continue to work for the day, the grandparents could do, but now everybody runs around like a chicken with no head. The sky is full, and the sky is full. And I don't understand where the backbone of America has gone. All right, so, but,
Snow.
oh, the young lady mentioned that when she calls the building department or calls the police department, they call a neighbor and they say that she complained. Well, I've been on the other end of the spectrum. They came to my house, Child Protective Services, and said, we have an anonymous complaint. Well, it's my belief, according to the Constitution, you have the right to know your accuser. The Child Protective Services wouldn't tell me who the accuser was. I knew. And then they said, don't worry, this will be all off the computer in 6 months. I said, no, you can't talk to my children. I want it in writing. It's another coming off the computer. They go, what do you mean? I said, well, if it's off the computer, there's going to be another anonymous complaint in 6 months. I think that it's my belief, constitutionally and morally, from the Bible, you have the right to know your accuser. And if you have to go to the building department or to go to the police department, there's something wrong with your relationship with your neighbors.
Well, are you reeling this into snow, or
No, this is all about the parking, that's all. Just was little notes I took in the parking. My block, they said multiple family houses. There's 10 houses on my block, all 3 families or 4 families. There's only 9 spaces on the block. I mean, I think that if you're gonna put this snow emergency thing in, like you say, you should be able to park on your lawn for the emergency. If you wanna make sure the cars are off the street,
Yeah, no, I can't do that. Yeah, people
No,
are
but
gonna,
this-
they're driving into their house, they're gonna slide in the snow,
well, the ground is
uphill,
frozen.
downhill, you know.
But you wanna get all the cars off the road. And like you say, there's not gonna be that much snow, global warming.
Yeah, but what people do, and what I recommend, if, there's an old lady lives next door to you, she has no car at all, and a 3-car driveway, you should ask her. Shovel her snow and park your car in her driveway. That's what people generally do.
But on my block, like you say, there's 10 houses, all multifamily, there's 9 spots. The parking lot behind the post office, he won't let anybody park there, because when it snows, he's gotta get in there and plow his parking lot. So, if my block wasn't exempt, there'd be no place for then 30 families with probably multiple cars to park.
Well, that's why it's exempt.
Oh, well, that's why it's exempt. All right, thank you very
Thank you.
much.
All right, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing on this. Ask for a second, please.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Councilwoman Nicholson.
Aye.
Councilwoman Marcotte.
Aye.
Councilman Dooley.
Aye.
Councilman Markosha.
Aye.
Supervisor Calavita.
Aye. Okay, recognizing the comments, recognizing the trial nature of this, I would make a motion to approve this as submitted and ask for a second, please.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Any further comments from the board?
I would just ask the clerk's office if you have received any comments, either for or against, email, written, verbal, electronic. None for the record. Thank you.
Yeah, I had
Got
an
it.
email.
It was-
Yeah, had
I
an
know
email
you said
from a
that.
resident, so
It
I'll
was
send that
CC'd
down.
too.
Yep,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Oh, you CC'd, good, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, with that being said, no further comments. Someone care to make a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right, please call the roll.
Councilman Nicholson.
Aye.
Councilwoman Marcotte.
Aye.
Councilman Dooley.
Aye.
Councilman Markosha.
Aye.
Supervisor Calavita.
Aye. Okay, now brings us to opportunity to address the board. Now, before we move forward with that, I want to thank the Eastchester Police Department members for being patient. I believe they want to address the board, and now will be the opportunity to take advantage of that, unless you want to sit through another couple hours of this. If you want us to, we will. If you want, no problem.
Hello, everyone. Town Board, how are you? Good evening, Supervisor. For anyone that doesn't know, I'm Detective John Yanni of the Eastchester Police Department. I'm also the PBA President. I've been a lifelong resident of this town. I'm a husband and a father to children. We love growing up in this town. It's been a great town. You guys have made it great, and our department has kept us safe. I would like to take this time to thank the town and the Supervisor Calavita for all their help over the years. You're always willing to work with us and assist us with anything we need. More recently, we had contract negotiations. During these negotiations, we spent time going over certain issues and concerns. I'm happy to say that we were able to come to an agreement and settle a new contract. I want to give special thanks to Supervisor Calavita for sitting down with us, and Dawn Donovan. She's right back here. Thank you, Dawn. After a few meetings, we were able to put aside issues, and both sides were able to come to an agreement that benefits the town and the PBA members. As a PBA, we appreciate all the support we get from the town and its residents. We're looking forward to working together with you in the future, and I thank you for your time and sitting here talking with us over those few weeks, and we came to a good agreement, and looking forward to doing it soon, all right?
Well, thank you, officer, very much.
Not a problem.
For your kind comments. And I got to tell you, it's been a long time since the department has come to a meeting and said, we appreciate the strong deal that we had made, for both sides, for that matter.
Yes.
And I greatly appreciate you taking the time, the other officers that are here, to make that statement. And, we're about one thing, public safety, and you guys are at the forehead of that. And while a lot of our places are, doing a negotiation under a rock because they want to put in more civilian personnel, lose officers, cut back on training and time, that's the direct opposite of what we're doing here. We know that you guys have done an excellent job. You have performed on an exceptional basis. You're dedicated. I get more compliments on the police department and the way they handle matters, especially in emergency circumstances, than from any other department. You do an excellent job, and we are committed not just to supporting you, but also letting you know that, the entirety of the town is supportive of this excellent department. And, our final terms and all is just a reflection of our, admiration for your department and all the excellent work that you do. And I want to also be clear that the next matter on the agenda has nothing to do with your comments, okay? That's, he's going to be appointed as the youth officer for a stipend. So
No, not me, not me.
they're not connected. But, Officer, thank you very much. Thank you, gentlemen, for taking the time to be here. It's a great department. It's moving in the right direction. The chief is doing a great job.
We agree.
All the lieutenants are doing an excellent job. It's just, it's like, it's advancing. And there's a lot of youth there, and it's just moving forward at a great pace. And we are very, very proud of the Eastchester Police Department.
I appreciate it. Thank you for your kind words.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you very much.
you.
Thank you, guys. Okay, now we have an opportunity to address the board on specific agenda items. Anything on the agenda? There being no, we're going to move forward.
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
Agenda?
I don't know.
On the agenda, only on the agenda. Yeah, okay. All right.
Sorry.
Okay, we have 3 items here, that's it. So we have, okay, next, we have the appointment of the youth officer, and it's a recommendation of the chief of police that the appointment of police officer Charles Minio to the part-time youth officer position for the police department August 4th of 2003 with the annual stipend of $3,000. Someone care to make a motion?
So moved.
Second?
All right. All in favor? I'm sorry, Mary, call the roll, excuse me. Sorry about that.
Councilwoman Nicholson.
Aye.
Councilwoman Marcotte.
Aye.
Councilman Dooley.
Aye.
Councilman Malkosha.
Aye.
Supervisor Calavita.
All right, we're just kidding around, of course, that giving the officers a stipend would result in their comment. Anyway, I vote aye on that also. Okay, so that brings us to the approval of minutes of the July 1st and July 11th town board meetings. Someone care to make a motion to approve same?
So moved.
All right,
Second?
all right, please call the roll.
Councilwoman Nicholson.
Aye.
Councilwoman Marcotte.
Aye.
Councilman Dooley.
Aye.
Councilman Malkosha.
Aye.
Supervisor Calavita.
Okay, Law Department report, Mr. Rader.
Yes, good evening. First, I have a resolution authorizing the supervisor of the town of Eastchester to execute the intermunicipal agreement with the village of Tuckahoe with respect to the sidewalk and curb replacement for 2023.
Yeah, this is another example of shared services and joint purchases that we're doing with the villages of Tuckahoe. Also, we have the next item is with the village of Bronxville and the school districts, and it's all about driving down the price, sharing services, and buying things together so as to reduce the price for taxpayers. Someone care to make a motion on this?
So moved.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Councilwoman Nicholson.
Aye.
Councilwoman Marcotte.
Aye.
Councilman Dooley.
Aye.
Councilman Malkosha.
Aye.
Supervisor Calavita.
Aye.
Okay, next resolution authorizing the supervisor of the town of Eastchester to execute the intermunicipal agreement with the village of Bronxville, the village of Tuckahoe, and the Eastchester and Tuckahoe Union Free School District with respect to street resurfacing for 2023.
All right, so moved.
Second?
Please call the roll.
Councilwoman Nicholson.
Aye.
Councilwoman Marcotte.
Aye.
Councilman Dooley.
Aye.
Councilman Narcocha.
Aye.
Supervisor Calavita.
Aye.
Okay, next I have a resolution authorizing the approval of an application for a special event permit submitted by the Chester Heights Civic Association for their community barbecue picnic, which will be held on Sunday, August 27th, 2023.
All right, so moved.
Second?
Please call the roll.
Councilwoman Nicholson.
Aye.
Councilwoman Marcotte.
Aye.
Councilman Dooley.
Aye.
Councilman Malkosha.
Aye.
Supervisor Calavita.
Aye. Okay, next we have the receiver.
I have
I'm sorry,
one more item,
Mr.
yeah.
Reed, I'm sorry, excuse me. Yeah, one more,
Sorry,
yeah.
one more item, yeah. Last, I have a resolution authorizing a settlement of a certiorari proceeding instituted by Scarsdale Avenue Associates and Riverview Sites LLC, affecting the premises known as Section 36, Block 2, Lot 3, 10 Bronx Street in Tuckahoe, and the assessment years on this property are from 2016 through 2022, tax years 2017 through 2023, and the total town tax refund on this property is $800.89.
I'll move that.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Councilwoman Nicholson.
Aye.
Councilwoman Marcotte.
Aye.
Councilman Dooley.
Aye.
Councilman Marcocha.
Aye.
Supervisor Calavita.
Aye. Next, we have the receiver of taxes report for the month of July. We can receive and file that, along with the town clerk's report. Anything to add?
No.
Okay. That moves us over to correspondence. We have a memorandum from the controller on budget transfers and revisions, just a couple of small ones in recreation, nutrition, police, and golf cart rentals. I'll make a motion to approve same. Ask for a second.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Councilwoman Nicholson.
Aye.
Councilwoman Marcotte.
Aye.
Councilman Dooley.
Aye.
Councilman Marcocha. Supervisor Calavita.
Aye. Okay, next we have a memorandum from the controller about part-time seasonal employees. We just have the couple left at Lake Isle. Someone care to make a motion on these?
So moved.
All right.
Second.
Thank you. Please call the roll.
Councilwoman Nicholson.
Aye.
Councilwoman Marcotte.
Aye.
Councilman Dooley.
Aye.
Councilman Marcocha. Supervisor Calavita.
Aye. Next, we have a memorandum from the library director on permission to go to rebid for the replacement of the passenger elevator at the Eastchester Public Library. And they went out to bid. Unfortunately, nobody bid. There were a lot of inquiries, but nobody made an actual bid, so they had to do the process over again. So I'll make the motion. Ask for a second, please.
I'll second it.
Okay, please call the roll.
Councilwoman Nicholson.
Aye.
Councilwoman Marcotte.
Aye.
Councilman Dooley. Councilman Marcocha.
Aye.
Supervisor Calavita.
Aye. There being no miscellaneous business, we have council member reports. Councilman Marcocha.
Thank you, Supervisor. Just a brief report here on Lake Isle. Lake Isle is once again offering a rate freeze for 2023 members starting Thursday, August 17th, running through Thursday, August 31st. Register and receive the same rate in 2024 as it was in 2023. So stop by the membership office at Lake Isle for more details and to register. You can also call Lake Isle for more information at 961-3453. And in a nutshell, exactly what I just said, if any current member would like to register early for the 2024 season, they will honor this year's rate for next year. It's been a program that we've run the last few years. It's been very successful, and a lot of people have been taking advantage of it. So we extended the time a little bit, August 17th through August 31st. If anyone is interested, you get to lock in at this year's rate. The last summer concert at Lake Isle is tomorrow night, Wednesday, August 9th, at 7:30 p.m. on the golf driving range at Lake Isle. Also, the final concert for the summer will be held at Garth Road Park on Wednesday, August 16th at 7:30 p.m. The annual advisory board meeting is Wednesday, September 20th at 8 p.m. at the Community Center at Lake Isle. If anyone is interested in attending, we will be there. And lastly, I want to congratulate the Lake Isle swim and dive team for just winning the Westchester County Conference Championships. They competed against 30 other clubs in Westchester, and they came out victorious. So congratulations to them. They have a great team there, and good job. And that concludes my report.
Councilman Dooley.
I have no report tonight, Mr. Supervisor.
Councilwoman Nicholson.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Good evening, everyone. Just some excitement at the library again. They're always keeping busy, a lot of activities. You know, they have the knitting tomorrow on Wednesday at 4, Crochet with Faith on Thursday at 3:45, and there's the Reading Buddy program on tomorrow also at 4 p.m., and registration is required there. And Film Day is on Friday. That's Friday, August 11th at 10:30 and 1:30. They're filming The Blind Side. There's also a young child, Kalista Karamitsos, has their art exhibit through August 22nd. So come check it out. If you have any questions, you could call 914-793-5055 or go to www.eastchesterlibrary.org for more information and details. And that is all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Marcotte.
Thank you, Supervisor. On behalf of the Recreation Department, I know a lot of kids were disappointed last night because the character concert was postponed, not canceled. So it has been rescheduled for August 21st. It'll be held at the driving range, beginning at 5:30. It is suggested that you bring a chair and a blanket, and you can stick around afterwards, and the children can have their pictures taken with many of the characters. I also want to announce for the Historical Society, September 9th, they are having their annual meeting and their annual largest fundraiser. It's going to be held at the Leroy Gregory Post, again, September 9th, beginning at 6:30. The reenactor, if you will, this year will be FDR, and he will be paying us a visit, so that will be a lot of fun. And we will be honoring our good friend and history lover, Patty Dorwent, for her many years of service and her many years of just being a very, very good friend to the Historical Society. And then also the next day, September 10th, at the library parking lot is the annual town yard sale, and the proceeds from that, if you will, from the spot rentals also go to the Historical Society. So it's our big weekend, and we hope residents will either make a donation or attend one of the two events, because it goes to all of the history loving in the town of Eastchester and the great history that we all appreciate. So that concludes my report, Supervisor.
Thank you. For my own report, I've been talking enough already, so I'll nix my report. That brings us to the second opportunity to address the board. Yes.
Now you can go.
Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Colavita.
Yeah, I'm sorry I had to wait so long, but
Thank you. Now, the reason why I'm here is to address the situation, as you know, we spoke already, with the sidewalk cafe for Garth Road. You know, for who doesn't know me, my name is Vincenzo Alaya. I own 2 restaurants on Garth Road. One is Cafe Alaya, the other one is Aperiti. I wanna, my English is not that well, so I'm an immigrant, so I hope I can express myself and make you understand. I'm having some issue with the town. One was recently today. I'm having violation saying that I have tables outside, sidewalk cafe. And they asked me to apply for a permit. But in reality, the permit, the law, whatever is written on the permit, it says that who doesn't own partial sidewalk could technically not apply. So for me, it would be a waste of time. I'm addressing you tonight to ask you to help us out or make a variance with this sidewalk cafe permit that you have in place, because it doesn't apply to us. You know, for 2 reasons we need this sidewalk cafe. As you know, after COVID, everything changed. The situation, people get used to the outdoor, and we have a lot of customers that they want to sit outside. We are a simple restaurant. We don't create chaos. We only serve food. So we serve regular people like you guys. They come with the husband, with the wife, with the kids. They sit down. They just enjoy the outdoor dining. We don't create no issue, because we've been on Garth Road for over 6 years. So we think you know who we are. So we need the outdoor cafe, as I said, for 2 reasons. The first one is because it's a business reason, economical. We were eating hard with COVID. So we had 3 years, was very hard for us. Some of us, they get funded, they got loaned, and now that we get the chance to pay back, we've been obstacled from the town of Eastchester that doesn't open to this idea to have the sidewalk cafe. The second reason is the community really loves it, as I mentioned before. It makes the neighbor beautiful, it makes the neighbor alive, and I think it's good for everybody. It's also good for the single people that they want to come and dine with their pets, with the dogs, that can stay outside. I don't understand why it's so difficult to address this for us, that we're trying to work hard every day. I met with Mr. Colavita a few times. I met in January to try to address this. I said that was very important to us, even because we have to face with other business in town and a neighbor town where they have outdoor cafe, and we cannot win. We can, as much hard we can possibly work, we can win, because people, when there's good weather, they want to sit outside. we wouldn't have the opportunity to compete with other business in our town and in the neighbor town, as a Scarsdale, as a Bronxville, and any other town in Westchester. I think Eastchester is the only town that I know, maybe I'm mistaking it, that makes hard for outdoor dining. And I want to ask the committee tonight, what is the reason? Maybe it's something that I don't see, that I don't understand, and if you make me understand, I may say, okay, fine, I got it, and I won't bother you anymore.
Well, it's a decision that the town board has to make. And the town, in our planning, on our zoning code, in the planning section, there is a provision that provides for outdoor dining. And the outdoor dining is if you own a restaurant establishment or the like, however it's defined in the code, and you have the property to put outdoor dining on, you can do that. Like, for example, there was a steak place on White Plains Road. I think it's closed now, but they had outdoor dining because it was on their own property. Some other places, they've asked for outdoor dining on their own property. We have no provision, no law that says you can have outdoor dining on town property. So when we met, it was actually February, we talked about, okay, maybe we could put together a law to do this, and we'll see, what the parameters are, because we had done that during COVID. We put together an emergency law that said you could do outdoor dining provided, there was a whole bunch of things. You couldn't go near a fire hydrant, near a vault, near a downspout, near an entranceway, whatever the case might be. So we put together a draft. But then the problem we have is this. The only person asking for outdoor dining on town property is you. And...
Can I say why?
Wait, that's you. And the problem is, based upon your dimensions at the restaurant and what the town board in our law, what we put together as far as the widths you have to have, the minimum widths, I don't know that you would even qualify. So, we're going back and forth with, should we do this for your sake, which may be enough. But we have to refine a little bit. Because one thing, as we said earlier, like what happened was the other day, somebody in a wheelchair, they called the building department to complain because they couldn't get through the tables you had set up, on the street. And maybe that's the case. Maybe that's not the case. We have to discriminate when we hear complaints. But that's what we're up against. And we're not, I don't know if this heavy lifting is worth it for the one location that's asking for it.
I'm sorry, Mr. Colavita, but a lot of things that you say, I have to disagree with you, and I can explain you
Sure.
why. The last you mentioned, there is a wheelchair person that was complaining. I don't understand why, during COVID, you give us the permit, and we had the table outside, there was no issue, and now there is an issue. So if we show that it could be done, then means it could be done now. Regarding any other thing that you mentioned, I'm sorry, probably, and with all due respect, I think that if you really wanted to do it, you will find a way to do it, as Bronxville did it, not because it's me, not because it's Vincenzo Alaya that demands that we have to have a sidewalk cafe because I want to become a millionaire. I will never become a millionaire because restaurants today, they're not meant to be profitable.
It's a tough business.
It's a tough business. So we have a vision. So when we come, we have a vision. The same vision I had when I came to Garth Road. You said, because you're the only one asking Garth Road, because I'm the only one on Garth Road. Nobody else is there. Who's going to ask you for the permit? Slice Pizzeria? He doesn't care. He sells slice. I came with a vision. I opened a restaurant. Whatever you think of my restaurant is a restaurant that I consider a decent restaurant. Okay? You know what we do. I don't know if you ever came to my restaurant. Our clientele is a respectful clientele. So I'm the only one on Garth Road. I have two restaurants. So unless you want me to get all single business on Garth Road and open restaurants, and I come and ask for everybody, because nobody's on Garth Road. There's only me. So I think, I don't know, but I think there is nothing wrong to have a few tables outside and let the community enjoy the outdoor dining. I think, especially today, we're saying COVID is over, COVID is over. I still have a lot of percentage of my customer, they don't want to come in. They are still afraid of COVID. They're still wearing masks. But this because there's some damage that was made, not from me, from whatever handled the situation. People are still afraid. And they need to have the opportunity to come and have my food if they want. And guess what? Some of them, they want the food outside. So what we're gonna do, just because one person complained, we're gonna stop. I have 800 customers a week, okay? Out of 800 customers, 30% wants to be outside. So for one person that complains, we gotta deprive, we can use deprive, the word deprive, all other customers that they wanna have an outdoor dining. I think it seems a little bit silly.
Yeah, well, I don't disagree with you. And this one person was just an example that I had mentioned. But see, our responsibility is a little broader than that. So we have to make sure that if we're going to permit outdoor dining on town property, because, we have liability, that we have, it's set up.
I'll take the liability.
I know, but just in case, for whatever reason, you don't pay your insurance, or your insurance isn't enough, or whatever the problem would be, we're on the hook. And the taxpayers are on the hook.
Liability.
I know, but just...
If you come with a plan, and I will get the insurance like I did during COVID.
Yes, I know.
I'll take the
I'm
liability.
aware of that.
There's nothing wrong with it.
But we just have to look at, we have to balance everything, the whole picture. Because what we do for the entire town. So we have to figure out whether or not, that's the right thing to do. Some people love outdoor dining. My wife, she loves to eat outside. Me, I hate to eat outside. That's just me.
I'm sure you go to your favorite restaurant and eat outside with your wife.
No, we go to her favorite restaurants all the time and eat outside.
Whatever it is, and you make her happy. I would love you to consider that other people consider my restaurant their favorite restaurant, and they would love to be outside.
Right. Well, let me do this.
They don't want to see that Alaya one day has a table outside, the next day has no table, because this kind of behavior. I know you guys. I'm telling you, as a restaurateur, this type of things, they damage restaurants. One day they come, they see tables. The next day my customer come and say, I have no table, he lives. I lose a customer. So this is a very serious thing. We are here in business. We pay taxes. We're not here to create any issue. We're only here to serve our community. We have a vision, and we hope for the future that us and the town of Eastchester have the same vision to make this town flourish.
Sure.
Because, as I said, I didn't come and open a bar or something that creates. I have a serious establishment. You guys know who I am and what we do. So I don't want to come to the town and fight every day like it happened today and have those answers, because I have to protect my 30 employees. Our business needs the outdoor dining because times changed. Time unfortunately changed. Before, I never came. I opened 2017. I never put tables outside, Mm-hmm. After COVID, things changed. People changed. We all changed.
Yeah. I don't disagree, but I'll tell you what we will do. Right now, the problem we have is that it's like that old expression, it's like being a little bit pregnant. You can't be. Either it is or it isn't. Right now, there's nothing on the books that says that you can have outdoor dining. So what we have to do is make a decision that we're either going to do it or we're not going to do it. So what I will do for you...
The decision, Mr. Colavita, has to be made soon because the summer is ending. And we're suffering.
If we make a decision, it would be something that would change permanently, year to year. But what I will do is I will speak with the board members. We'll make a decision before our next town board meeting, okay? And I'll communicate that with you.
Yeah,
because we've been going back and forth about this.
Don't do it for me. Do for the next people that want to come and invest on Garth Road, for the next people that want to invest in the town of Eastchester.
I know, but you're the only person asking for it.
They know that they have somebody that they can trust and be partnered with. They're not going to be hard for them, that they want to do something good for the community. Not for me, because I'm not going to become a millionaire.
Yeah. Well, again,
I'm telling you, it's just for the community, Mr.
We will come to a conclusion on what action we will take, and we'll advise you.
Yeah,
I mean, I was at Jimmy B's, down the street from you, which is in Scarsdale. Jimmy B's.
Jackie B's?
Jackie B's, excuse me. And,
Jackie B is in Scarsdale.
Yeah,
they have
I know,
tables outside.
but there were tables outside.
Table outside.
And there was an
Everybody's
umbrella,
table outside.
and a lady with a stroller couldn't get through. I had to get up and move the umbrella so she could pass by. And the taco place They got about, a surfboard width of space on the sidewalk. So we got to just make sure we don't make the mistakes they're making. We got to do it right.
I was in Italy, and I would love to show you a video that I made just for you to see it. And I'm not saying we're gonna go to that level, and I'm not saying nothing. I'm just saying it because sometimes, we make it too difficult. Things can be done very easy, all right? And more rules and more strict we are, we create more complaint we create. If we make understand this is something simple can be done. It's nothing that we ask. We don't ask nothing. We're asking the people that they want to sit outside. They can sit outside and not create no issue. There is space. And if we don't have to put 2 tables together, we only can put 1 table, that's fine enough. We have tables. Or we can do some other things, like Bronxville did. Bronxville had the same issue that you guys had. But what they did, they give parking space. Why they did that? They did 12 business. They did 12 the community. Why Eastchester doesn't want to do that?
Well, just as an aside, my last comment would be, we would never give up parking on Garth Road. It's too sensitive. Even, God bless Bronxville, they want to take up 6 or 7 spots. But you know what, though? If you're a businessman that doesn't have a restaurant, you'd be awful upset.
Are we part of the same community?
You'd be awful upset if your customers couldn't park and come visit your store because of your tent that was up there, 24 hours a day. But look, that's what we're going to weigh. And we will let you know before the next meeting what action we're going to take. All right?
I just want to let you know one thing, and then I conclude, and I thank you.
Sure.
Before the next meeting means in September.
Yeah, September, what is it? 4th?
Summer
5th.
So summer will be over. I just want to let you know, we wish we had the time, like you do have, to decide. Unfortunately, our world, it works differently. We don't have the time. We need to generate revenue now. So we don't have this time. We can wait a month. We can wait a summer and lose revenue because it's vital for our business and for our community to make this decision as soon as possible. And that's what I want to say. But thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you that you will listen to me on an issue that was not on the plan
The
today.
agenda, no problem.
Whatever it was.
That's why we have the
Thank
opportunity
you
to come
very
up.
much, and I'm looking forward to hear from you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Second opportunity. Yes, sir.
I have to pick somebody at the airport.
Okay.
David Levy, 220 Hillside Place, up at Tuckahoe. All right, before I start my comments for the second opportunity, I've been out of town for a while. I don't know if anybody gave a moment of silence for Al Craver from Tuckahoe Paint and Glass.
Yes, we did, at
And
the last meeting.
Carmine Masucci.
I think so, too, before then.
All right, well, these are guys that I grew up in town watching them, and they were very, very important to the community. They both gave a lot to the community. All right, so, now, the gentleman that was just up, maybe you rent him 3 parking spots in front of his store, and you charge him for 3 parking spots for 4 hours a day, or whatever it is. Because in Tuckahoe,
There would be a lynch mob of Garth
I
Road
know,
residents
I know, but
if we take up 1 postage stamp worth of parking down there.
Bentley's, they cut, well, I don't know, what do they call now with Bentley's? They took the corner there. Same thing with Tucked Away. All right, so, listen Supervisor Calavita, Board, I come to you with a problem in this country. I think that, you go to these cities and these states, and there's sanctuary cities, sanctuary states. I think the Township of Eastchester needs to open up cigarettes, alcohol, tattoos to 6 to 9-year-old children. I think that for the inclusiveness of this country, these 6 to 9-year-old children should be able to go out and buy cigarettes, go out and get a can of beer or a drink, maybe get a tattoo or 2. Because, the rest of this country is beginning to think that these 6 to 9-year-old children can choose their sexuality and get sex changes. Well, How can you go out and get a sex change if you can't have a beer, can't smoke a cigarette? You can't even get a tattoo at that age. That's cigarettes, beer, even legal marijuana today is a lot more life-changing than sexual than having your sex changed, all right? But this country and this state, the state of New York we're in now, says it's fine to take a 6-year-old child and give them hormones to change their sex. Well, they can't even have a beer to think about it. They can't even get a tattoo with their girlfriend or their boyfriend's name on it because they're too irresponsible at that age. But it seems that this government we have here in New York believes that they can make a decision about their sexuality. I mean, this state's getting screwier and screwier every day. I mean, this is just a suggestion I have. You don't have to take it verbatim, like not giving the guy three parking spots. But I think that these children would be a lot better off with a beer, a cigarette, and a tattoo than they would with sex changes. I don't know. It just seems to me, I hate to say the wrong word, but ass backwards. All right? Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else? Not being no one else?
Have a good rest
Thank
of
you.
your summer.
You too.
You too.
All right, can we make a motion to adjourn?
So moved?
Second, all in favor?
yes.
Aye, I'll do an all in favor on that one, thank you. Thank you all.